Hey, good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining February's edition of All Access Belize. And I'm excited tonight because we have our first returning guest, who is my lawyer, Ryan Robel. And Ryan, it's great to have you, buddy.
Hi, David. Greetings, and it's happy to be here with you this evening.
So again, if you're new to All Access Belize, we talk about the good, the bad. We try to answer your questions. So go ahead and throw all your answers in the question and answer box, and then we read them, out loud and answer them. And the goal is to help educate you. And what my mentor says is education for effective action. So we like to educate you. I think that's what Ryan and I spend most of our time doing, is educating clients and helping them through the process of buying in here. Once you buy it, we kind of hand it over to Ryan's team. And then Ryan also does many other things, and we'll kind of get into that and also have him explain to you kind of what he handles, because he doesn't handle just real estate. He handles a lot of other things. And then kind of what questions you might have. So again, I'm coming to you live from Placencia. And we have Serena. She's coming from Florida. She's kind of in the background helping us facilitate this webinar. So again, welcome everybody. And Ryan, for those who haven't joined us before, give us a quick update, like kind of, where you're from,
Sure.
where you are, where you can practice law. And,
Okay.
and then I'll ask you some questions about the law firm and things like that.
All right. Thanks, David. I appreciate the introduction. And again, happy to be here this evening. My name is Ryan Robel. I'm an attorney at law. I'm the managing partner at Robel and Company Attorneys at Law in Belize City. We do work countrywide, but our office is located in Belize City, really right by the water taxi terminal, actually on North Front Street, for those people in the Keys that might know it. We are an office of 2 attorneys, a support staff of 12, and we really focus on kind of a niche practice. Heavy real estate, and we handle transactions where we're representing buyers, sellers, and developers, all aspects of real estate. We do some corporate and some immigration as well. We do quite a few qualified retired person application assistance for clients over the years, and kind of anything that touches relocation, investing in Belize, and kind of a specialized practice, David.
Great. And you also are not just certified in Belize, you're certified in a couple other places, right?
I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. So I went to University of Law School up in New York State in the United States. I do maintain a license to practice law in New York, but it's been a while, not in active practice. 99% of my time, I'm right here in Belize, currently reporting from Belize City. But yeah, I'm licensed to practice law in the States, state of New York, as well as the country of Jamaica. I did do some work there when I had to go back to school. So I'm also licensed to practice there. But yet again, Belize is my specialty, and Belize is where I am 90% of the time. I can tell you that the other attorney in our office, while she is a Belizean attorney, she's also licensed to practice law in the state of Florida, not active practice, but we've been successful over the years as being kind of a bridge between U.S. law and Belizean law, and helping people understand what they're getting into coming north to south from the United States into Belize as investors.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's huge because you do understand the U.S. law, and most of my clients, and I assume most of your clients, are probably either from the US or Canada. So it kind of does help to bridge that gap, for things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps. And I mean, we have clients worldwide these days. Belize is becoming a popular place. But yeah, some of our closest clients would be in the United States of America. So we have a significant amount of investment from Americans here in Belize.
Good. We have one question already, and I love the question because it's one that I'm very, very frustrated with. And it's, how long does it typically take to receive title in hand for a property?
Okay.
I know I have property and I have clients that are waiting 2-3 years. So kind of talk about that.
Well, I can certainly talk about it and comment on that. I mean, that, as I mentioned, our office, our practice is heavily involved in real estate transactional work. We actually are in Belmont Pond at the registry every Friday, following up on client matters that are in the pipeline, submitting new matters. So we are in touch, finger on the pulse of what's happening there. I would tell you that the time frame, it really varies. Some of those longer time frames, yeah, certainly during COVID or lockdowns and things like that, there was some really, really significant delays on the turnaround time for title transfers or any other submissions to the land registry itself. These days, recently, somewhat going on 2 years later, they're doing better. I'd say 6 months. 6 months on average is what our office is seeing as a turnaround time from a submission of a land transfer, a closing, a regular, standard transaction. So, land registry is improving, although again, David, that varies. I mean, that could change next week. Things do vary as far as timeframes in Belize, depending on the workload and the amount of transactions that are being fielded by that registry.
For sure. Are you seeing, like we were seeing a lot of reissuance of stamp duty, so they're reassessments. Are you still seeing a lot of that?
With our client base, no. To be frank, I haven't seen one in well over a year or 2 years, maybe. Again, we provide advice to our clients with regard to valuation and the preparation of land transfer instruments to avoid problems down the line with valuations. No, I don't think I know what you're referring to. There was a time period there was a significant bump and increase in reassessments. In my opinion, based on my experience, I think we're over that, and I haven't seen a whole lot recently, thankfully.
Yeah. I haven't either. I think it's it has slowed down, but like I have one client that bought a beachfront lot for $250 and in Placencia, and he got reassessed it at $450. And it's like, we tried fighting for it, and I don't know. And then even with before, if it got reassessed before the new administration came in, nobody wants to even deal with that.
There was a tremendous bottleneck after government changed. I mean, we don't have any transfers in our office or any matters that we're representing that date back that long. Certainly not. And I would say anybody that's still waiting for, I think in that query was 2-3 years, something is wrong. I suggest that you check on whoever you retained, hopefully it was a licensed attorney, to conduct your transaction and lodge those papers and do follow-up. Our office assists with that coming in later if something's wrong. That could be a sign of a reassessment, David. You're right, if that's where you're going with that. There's something wrong. It shouldn't take so long.
That's what I thought, yeah. So we don't have any other questions at the moment. So I wanted to kind of go over, since last time you were on the show, we had a big change in the company's registry. So
Sure.
If those of you who are in attendance, you could, if you're doing business in Belize, or if you want to buy a property using what we called a Chapter 250, that would be equivalent to an LLC in the US, right?
Formerly known Chapter 250.
Right.
It was a domestic company, a company that you would use to engage in business within the confines of Belize. We also used to have IBCs, international business companies in Belize. They each had their own act. Again, Chapter 250 of the Laws of Belize was the Companies Act. Chapter 270 of the Laws of Belize was the International Business Companies Act.
Yep.
Last year, 2022, both of those acts were repealed. So those companies or those corporate forms no longer exist in Belize. In 2022, last year, the Belize Companies Act was passed into law. And so now, since November, actually, there is a re-registration process going on for all companies that had been registered as a Chapter 250 domestic Belizean company or an IBC prior to this change of law, 2022. And there's been a lot of changes with that outside of just amalgamating these two different type of companies into one, a Belize company. That's it. A lot of it has to do with their new system of filing, and there is a new licensing regime for registered agents, those persons that would operate on behalf of a third party, provide corporate services as a business. And so there's been some significant changes indeed over the last year.
Okay, good. So, and is it privatized now? Because I hear some people say it's private.
It's not a
Sometimes I
privatized
hear it's
registry.
still governed.
No,
So it's not.
it's owned by government, the company's registry.
Okay. Have fees gone up? Do you know?
Fees have increased. Fees have increased. Again, I don't want to be the guy that's defending government, but I will tell you that fees were frozen for many, many years, as long as I can
Yes,
remember
I
before
agree.
that. So in
I
all
agree.
fairness, fees
I
have
agree.
gone up. Some will say significantly. I don't, truth be told, I don't have the increases off the top of my head to share with you, but they've gone up to a certain degree. I think that's not the major change, though, that's involved in this new company regime in Belize. I think the major change really is this, what they call OBRS, and it is their online registry. So all the documentation now for companies, for Belizean companies, must be filed through in a digital format, through digital means in cyberspace, through the portal for the company's registry. Effectively, no more paper, right? It's not that type of walk-in register anymore. In addition to that, how everything is headed toward the digital age there in the registry, there is a license required to provide corporate services now that never existed in the past. It did exist with IBCs. There was a need to have a licensed registered agent, but I should say it never existed for those law firms, other offices that provide corporate services to domestic companies in the past. So now that is a licensed activity. I can tell you that it is governed by our Financial Services Commission. So there is a pretty significant application that needs to be submitted. In addition to that, some significant license fees, those went up, they went up a lot for the registered agents. But I see that also as beneficial to the registry itself. There's some protection, some oversight of corporate services and company law in Belize with the use of licensed registered agents. So I'm not necessarily against it. It is a modernization of the registry.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's we need it, right? I mean, just like in the real estate industry, it's a non-registered, you know, business, and it really needs to be, and they've been working on it as long as I've been living here.
Sure.
So hopefully it will come soon. But yeah, that's good. So it sounds like it's easier to get your certificate of good standing and things like that then.
Well, here's the other thing. Another significant change, which may be of interest to your audience. Any companies now, so if it was an IBC in the past or a 250, Chapter 250 in the past, which again, they no longer exist, rather. They have to go through a re-registration process where they become a Belize company and held to this new act, to the new law. If there is a foreign component to that company, meaning if there is a foreigner, a non-Belizean that's a shareholder, that's a director and officer, that company must utilize a licensed registered agent in Belize to submit documentation. So that type of company would not be able to go directly to the registry, not only to make submissions, but to request documents, as you mentioned, without the help of a registered agent.
That's awesome. Okay. And what about privacy? Because Belize is known for being private. It's a good area, good jurisdiction to have a IBC or a company, if you will, because of the privacy laws. Has
Sure.
that changed since it's gone?
That's for IBCs. If you're familiar with IBCs, that's changed completely and absolutely. As I mentioned, the IBC Act has been repealed. It no longer exists. Companies formerly known as IBCs have been absorbed, amalgamated into this new Belize Companies Act. And I can tell you that the Belize Companies Act has no confidentiality or privileged positions, no quiet registry that is not open to the public. That being said, it seems now that registered agents are, to a certain degree, a gatekeeper of that. So again, you would have to go through a registered agent as a foreign national to acquire documents on a company, or through that company's registered agent. It's very early on with the system. Again, they rolled it out in November. We're only talking about a couple months. They're still working out a lot of growing pains with it. And anything I tell you here, it's really in a state of flux there at the registry. Like my experience, could change every day because of, it's a brand new act, a brand new digitized registry, and really a new system for everyone. So it's going to have it's going to take some time to settle it up.
Well, I mean, just for my listeners, I engaged with Ryan this week to set up two companies. One's going to be a holding company and one's going to be a business company. So I'll probably write in my newsletter how it goes, what's the differences and things like that. So stay tuned with that. Like Brian said, though, it's going to be changing until they get it right. Belize is good about enacting new things. They might not be perfect, but they're willing to change it a little bit to make it right. So we have a couple questions. So Drew is asking regarding the I guess it's QRP, can minimum deposit 25,000 per year be rolled over from an existing 401k? I'm 62, self-employed, US licensed real estate broker. If residing there minimum 30 days per year, allowed working there with referrals in Belize to US. Also for 40 days per year living requirement, what places that allow minimum residency?
I can kind of touch on that, David. I mean, in general, there's only, at this point for the QRP, there's only 3 acceptable revenue sources for the actual 24,000 US per year. It's 24. And those sources have to be from pension income, a social security payment, or an annuity payment, and nothing else. So, you know, the mention of existing 401, what they're looking for is long-term guaranteed payments. 401k for the most part, I'm no expert, but you can cash out early, and that's what the BTB is looking for, or looking to see, and what they do not want to use as the financial prerequisite for the program. So again, that's social security payments, pension payments, or annuity. We do a lot of QRP applications, Drew. So if you have more interest in it, please, reach out to me. I'm sure you can get my contact details through David. But I'd love to help out.
Yeah, very good. And Serena in the chat box will put out, do you want them reaching out to you, or do you have an assistant? Because Serena has your email.
It really doesn't matter if they'd like to reach out to me.
Okay.
I mean, we're lawbelize.bz, and you can go to our website and find out all our contact details. My personal email is ryan@lawbelize.bz if you want to reach out directly to me.
So that's easy to know, and Serena will put it in the chat box as well. What about the maximum stay or minimum stay on the QRP? Can you touch on that?
The Act asks that one spends at least 30 days in country if you have the qualified retired person status. It's not a requirement that's heavily policed. It's designed for somebody to retire to our country. That's what the law says. You should at least spend 30 days in country in that 365-day year. That's how it is, David. I mean, I wouldn't be overly concerned about that.
Okay, very good.
Also, there is another piece of that question. I'm sorry, David, to cut you off. Sorry,
no,
Drew, I did see this. He's a U.S. licensed real estate broker residing there. Are you allowed to work there? Referrals from Belize to the U.S. I mean, you're under the qualified retirement program. You're prevented from working in Belize. You can't do anything for profit in Belize. However, if you had some foreign sourced income, if you were working in the United States but physically present in Belize, maybe doing your work through cyberspace, the internet, what have you. Again, if the revenue is sourced outside of Belize, that's specifically exempt from taxation under the Qualified Retired Persons Act. So, but working in Belize, no, you can't do that.
Correct. Yep. Very good. That was a good point. I missed that. And there were some changes, because I know before you could own, let's say I owned a hotel. I could actually go in there and check it and things like that, but they really don't want you even doing that, right? They want you to hire a manager.
Yeah, you're prevented from investing in Belize if you're a retired person as well, or a QRP. That's how the act reads. I think maybe enforcement was lax in the past, where people were getting away with it. But then when, for the last several years, enforcement has been quite tight on that particular portion of the Qualified Retired Persons Act. And again, what it is basically you come in on a QRP, you're getting all kinds of tax exemptions for imported goods and vehicles and boats and airplanes. You are not expected to compete with the local business market. So you are prohibited from working, for one. You can't be an employee. You're also prohibited from investing. And the tourism board has taken a very wide definition to investing, which even includes, at this point, my understanding, having an Airbnb or a downstairs apartment, a downstairs flat or upstairs flat, or a rental in your yard. That would be prohibited as a qualified retired person now. Yeah, that's how it is, David. That's strict letter of the law there.
That's good. I mean, that's good to know. I mean, I know of somebody here in Placencia that actually is on the qualified retirement and works for
Sure.
his
Well,
wife.
there's
And
always anomalies there.
yeah,
How that's
yeah,
happening?
it drives me
I'll
nuts.
tell you what the law is, David. Yeah, I'll tell you what the
Yeah,
law is.
exactly.
We
I
had,
don't
when
like
they did start
people
enforcing
to,
that law, we had quite a few clients that were asked to either take themselves out of the qualified retirement program, basically give up their status, or divest themselves of their business interests. Some of them had rental properties. And so, and again, so I know that is the fact. Whether or not there are anomalies out there, people that are getting over, well, hey,
yeah,
no
that's,
comments.
yeah, it's exactly. So David's asking, I don't know if it's pertinent to your attorney, but what is the process to obtain a second passport? Is the first question, and I know I can answer that too, as I have one. Ryan, you have one, I'm sure too. So we can
Sure. I mean, it's
definitely
not
answer that one.
a lot of people ask that question because they think that there's a fast pass, a short route to a Belizean passport, and there's really not. I would say, as a rule of thumb, if all goes well and a standard, entering the country and going through the standard legal route without any shortcuts like marrying a national or doing something, along those lines, you're looking at least 7+ years before you'd be able to obtain nationality. And I think 7 years would even be a very aggressive estimate.
I would. Yep.
It takes time. I mean, you have to come into the country as a quick overview. You enter the country legally. You stay here legally for 1 year. There's many ways you can stay in the country legally: visitors permit, work permit, what have you. Once you're in country for 1 solid year without leaving the country for more than 14 days, cumulative days together in that 365, you're entitled to apply for permanent residency. That process doesn't happen immediately. It's 9 to 18 months, and then also moves around until that's processed. You have to maintain your legal status in Belize during that application time. So again, we're already looking at 2+ years. Once you are granted permanent residency status, then and only then does a new clock start ticking. 5 years in Belize with permanent residency, and you can apply for nationality. And so again, I say 7 years, but I'd say 7+, David. I don't know what your experience was.
Yeah, it took me 10.
Okay.
But I didn't stay on them. I had a problem with my application, and they didn't call me, and I didn't call them. I'll tell you
Okay.
now, the immigration department that deals with that, in my experience, has been very responsive.
Yeah.
They actually call my clients, or they call, when I needed it, they called me and things like that. But
Sure.
it was pretty good. But it is, it's about a 7, like you said, 7 to 10 year.
Yeah.
But it's easy to do. It's just a matter of, taking the time to do it. I think the hardest one is the first year, not leaving for more than 2 weeks.
Sure. I mean, and this is something that people can do on their own, but you're right. There can be a lot of frustration with not only the immigration department, but government bureaucracy in general. These are services, everything that we talk about here tonight, my office can help with. Again, it's not absolutely necessary that you use an attorney to process some of these applications, but some people find our services to be invaluable, just making things a little bit smoother and easier and less of a headache.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And so before we go on to his second, well, let's ask his question, and then we'll follow up with more about what actually your firm offers, kind of a wide range of it. So David's second question is, transferring money from a US bank to a Belize bank, does one need to be cautious in general in Belize? So I'll make one comment. Two, we have a lot of cybercrime going on throughout the whole world. So make sure that you're transferring money to the right, bank and the right money. Also, in my experience, no local bank has failed in this country. We have good liquidity laws. Now, we have had some, and Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we have had some international banks go up, but no
Sure.
local banks.
That's true. I mean, during my history in Belize, we had a couple international banks, formerly known as offshore banks, close up shop. Don't have a history of any problems in our domestic banking system or Belize dollar. banking system. I bank in Belize. I'm not concerned. I don't think that there's a real problem with banking here in Belize, outside of the fact that, I mean, if you're coming from the United States or Canada, you're going to find that the customer is always wrong in the bank here in Belize. It can be a very frustrating experience. They can ask you to sign the same document 5 times over. It feels like a lot of frustration like that. But as far as a threat of bank failure, am I going to make a run on the bank? No, David, I don't feel that way.
I don't either. They have good liquidity laws. And while banks are fractional banking, they do have to keep a certain amount of money on deposit. So one, they're not FDIC insured, or the equivalent of here. So you want to keep that in mind. I have banks here too, but I don't keep a lot of money. I keep them mostly in offshore and FDIC insured banks. But yeah, I don't think you need to worry about it at all. So Ryan, before we go on to David's next questions, talk a little bit about not exactly, but you have 2 lawyers and a huge support staff, which I didn't know. So talk about, I mean, I see you're very good, very awesome on social media as well, putting out excellent, content. But what all do y'all kind of do outside of real estate and QRP and immigration stuff?
Sure. Our concentration. Thanks, David. I really think that our office over the years, myself, the other attorney, the staff, we've been involved in the law and every level, all facets of the law here in Belize. But over the years, we've really tailored our practice to what we do well and what we enjoy doing, and that's making our clients happy, satisfying their goals. We've really become what I would call an expat or relocation law practice, if that is such a thing. I mean, again, primarily we started out by representing our clients zealously when it comes to real estate transactions, ensuring that their money and their investment is protected at all times throughout the entire transaction. And I think we did that pretty well over the years. It developed a reputation for straight shooters and making sure that the deal will be sealed. On top of that, we started to see some of the services that foreign investment, be it Americans, Brits, other Europeans or Canadians coming down, need, and qualified retirement programs, certainly for some of those clients that wanted to bring in household goods or motor vehicles, again, tax-free. There's certainly another component, just standard immigration, and standard immigration, I'd include work permits as well. So we're helping out our clients that may be coming from abroad, that don't want to be that want to be more active in the community in a business sense, either starting their own business or being involved in business in Belize of some sort. So we've created a corporate department to deal with that as well, and kind of anything else that touches what our client base might need. We're not litigators, so we don't take on litigation or contentious issues. That being said, we have a good network of colleagues that I've built over time. And I'm always turning on my clients, and if they have a need that our particular office at Robel & Company can't take care of, we'll definitely put you in the hands of somebody that we have full faith will take care of the process. So, a little bit of everything, David, and typically, again, those persons that may be relocating from Europe, North America, Asia, what have you, try to make their transition as smooth as possible.
Good, yeah. So that's good. Yeah, every time I email Ryan, I don't handle this, David, but talk to this person. And so he's been very good at that. So David's asking to follow on the last question. He has Social Security. Out of those is 3, but the Medicare deduction, I only have deposits for 22,000. Does the deduct amount count toward the 24,000 requirement?
Yeah, I understand your question, David. I mean, I get this a lot. The department within the BTB that processes the applications, they are very strict with the regulations. So 24,000 means 24,000. If you don't have that, you don't satisfy the requirements. Now, maybe through the use of an annuity, if you have the ability to purchase annuity to make up that difference, and say something that pays you $2,500 a month, an annuity, well, you can certainly couple those income sources, join them together to reach the threshold, that financial prerequisite, 24,000 United States dollars per year, to be transferred into a Belize dollar bank account on the ground here in Belize. That's important to note as well. No restrictions or mandates on how you spend that money, but it does need to be converted into Belizean dollars. So again, I think that's very important to mention.
Now, do you have to spend it, or can you just leave it in the bank for next year?
You can certainly leave it in the bank. There are no requirements under the act to spend that money or to invest it in any way in the country.
Okay, but it does have to come here.
Does have to come here, and in fact, the qualified retirement program, if you are a QRP, you need to renew your status on an annual basis. As part of the renewal application every year, you need to submit a photocopy of your Belize dollar bank statement showing that the requisite amount of money did come in during that calendar year, $24,000 US again. And it can come in a lump sum, it can come $2,000 a month. It really doesn't matter, as long as at the end of that 12-month period, you can prove that 24,000 US came in. It was converted into double your money, $48,000, please.
Right. Very good. Very good. Okay. So you can take an annuity, Social Security, and things like that, and combine them together to make that $24,000.
You absolutely can package sources from those three acceptable sources to make up and reach that $24,000 threshold. Yes.
Okay. So I do have clients that they're not bringing in a plane, so they want to bring in 2 cars. Have you seen that?
No, I've not. I mean, there's an allotment for 1 motor vehicle, 1 boat, 1 plane. I've not seen anyone successfully say, I want 3 planes or 2 boats and 1 car.
Right,
No, I've
right.
not seen.
Okay. So nobody's been able to say, well, I'm not going to bring in a plane. Can I bring in another car? And have
That's
2
the first time hearing that question, actually, David. Interesting.
Okay.
No, I've
Okay.
not encountered that.
Okay. All right. All right. So Dave says, do savings not qualify toward the requirement to make up for the shortage? I guess if you
Savings.
put that in annuity, right? If you put it
Well,
in
sure.
annuity
If
and
you
bring,
transform that, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That would work, but not straight savings, not just showing them how much money you have in a bank account. That's not going to work, and that it will not go, cannot be combined with the other sources. Again, pension, annuity, or a Social Security payment to reach that 2,000 US a month.
yeah. And like, talking about the banks earlier, the banks here do pay a pretty decent, percentage per month or per quarter, if you will, on your accounts, on your savings accounts. So do keep that in mind. I mean, I think mine's doing like 3% or 2.5%, something like that. When I first moved here, it was like 8%, but then the interest rates for houses were in the 14 range. So things have come down, and of course, the delta has come down as well. So very good. So the questions are pretty good coming in. While some more coming in, and Serena put Ryan's business website in the chat box, and she also put in Ryan's email address. So for those of you who are coming in a little later, we're with returning guest Ryan Robel. He's a practicing lawyer here in Belize, and he is, my attorney I go to for pretty much everything. So, I am kind of biased for using him. We do use other attorneys as well if clients recommend that, but if anybody asks me for what lawyer to use, I strictly recommend Ryan. So Ryan, on the QRP, can you, you've been here 6 years, can you get another car? Because the car has to be like 3 years or newer, right?
That's right. So the car can't be an old car. It has to be at least no older than 3 years. Every 5 years, you can actually buy another car under the program. That's a good point. If you were to sell any of these vehicles, you certainly would have to pay the taxes that would have been collected should you not have gotten that tax exemption, but at a depreciated rate. So if you're bringing a car this year and, in 5 years from now, you want to sell that old car to bring in another one tax-free, that old car, you'd be paying taxes on that value 5 years after the importation. So it gets a little bit better. Exactly.
That's right. Household goods, it's good for 1 year, or you can.
There's an importation window. That window opens the day that you receive your letter. Congratulations, you are a QRP. You have a 1 year importation window for that tax-free importation of, again, household goods, motor vehicle, boat, airplane. It doesn't have to come in one shipment. It could come in multiple shipments throughout the year, but you do have that 1 year window. You do have the ability to pay some additional funds to extend that window, I think by 6 months. I tell those to my clients, just time it right. There's no advantage to applying for the program early. And I'm not talking about early like before you get here, but when your goods will cross the border is a real timing that you should look for to ensure that happens within that 1 year window, so it doesn't, waste money and have additional costs.
Gotcha. That brings up a good question. So I want to move here in July of 2023. And I want to be on the QRP. What are the requirements outside the 24,000?
Okay.
And when should I start that process? Do I need to be in country, or do I want to start it before?
Sure. Outside of that financial prerequisite, there is a medical requirement, so you're gonna have to get a physical. There is some medical tests that you have to provide the results as part of the application packet. You also have to submit a police record or an arrest record from where your home is, your source, in whatever form that may take. There is an application itself. As far as processing time, on average, we're about 2 to 3 months from full application to granting of status. And to answer your question about whether or not you have to be here in Belize, you absolutely do not have to be here in Belize. You need not set foot in Belize prior to the granting of the QRP status. There are some documents where we will need ink signatures, so we would use FedEx or another international courier service to bring those documents down. But no, physical presence is not required in order to initiate an application.
Very good. Okay. And I'm building a house. Can I bring in under the QRP some of the building materials?
Absolutely not. So that's a good point. There's a few things that are prohibited from being imported tax exempt. Not prohibited from being imported, but you're not going to get that tax exemption. So you can still bring in these items, but you'll have to pay tax, the requisite duties. Building materials is specifically stated in the Act, David. So we're talking about windows, roofing, lumber, nails, building materials. No. Again, you can bring them in if you have something special you want to bring in that is a building material that maybe you can't source here in Belize. You'll just have to pay the import duties on it. You won't be able to bring it in tax-free under the program. Alcoholic beverages is another. We had a client some years back that had the contents of their wine cellar. That became a problem to a certain degree at the port because it was coming in as a household good. At the end of the day, something was negotiated, but import taxes were paid on alcoholic beverages. Those also should not and cannot be expected to be completely tax exempt when you're importing under the qualified retirement program. And besides that, I would say anything that may be controlled, animal parts, things that you wouldn't be able to import and export or get on a plane with, probably that kind of thing. But for specifics, building materials, alcoholic beverage, everything else, I mean, refrigerators, utility, furniture, bedding, the contents of one's home. There's really no restriction there.
No restriction. Now you can, if you're on the qualified retirement, you can buy a vehicle in Belize duty free.
Absolutely.
At the dealership. So you don't feel like you have to bring it here, but if you do want to, you can buy one here. Let's see, what other questions could I come up with? So again, we have about 15 minutes, and if you have any questions about moving here, living here, buying property here, you have probably some of the most qualified people to answer that on this webinar. And if you want to listen to it again, then we'll have it basically some editing done and a professional kind of intro and outro, and then it'll go on YouTube for you all to listen to again and share with your friends, families, and things like that. And we do this once a month. So the next one will be, Serena will put it in the chat box, and then I can tell you. We'll probably do it a little later, maybe, just for people on the West Coast. It might be a little too early, but we try to do it where it's a balance, so people on the East Coast, it's not too late for. So next All Access Belize is March 2nd. at 6:30 Belize Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time. So we're working on the guest now. So please stay tuned. And if you enjoyed this and you thought this was helpful, please tell some of your friends about it. Because, you know, it's free of charge and we like doing it and we like helping people, educating them about the wonderful country that we live in. So cost and all, do you know off the top of your head what the costs are, or they can just
For the retirement program?
Yes, sir.
All in, if you're bringing a spouse, dependent, I would say you're probably looking at in fees around a few $1,000s US. Once you pay that, the application fees and what have you, the renewal fees at the end of the year are minimal, a few $100s US. It's a really great program if you're going to bring in or import the contents of your house and motor vehicles, boats. I mean, I'd tell you, David, that even if you're considering the purchase of a new vehicle or importing just a vehicle, the cost of the program probably far pay for it. As you know, the import duties can be tremendous, especially on larger motor vehicles.
Exactly. So what's the requirement for hurricane insurance along the coastal area? So Drew, we have an all perils insurance. So we don't have, like in the States, you know, you all know I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. I had a flood policy, I had a hurricane policy, and then I had my regular insurance. So all that in Belize is amalgamated into what we call an all perils insurance. So once you have insurance on your property, it's for your property. You know, there might be a different, what do you call it? A deductible. But you're covered with insurance in Belize. That's a good question, though. What about let me see, what other questions can I have? Oh, so what do you see as issues, maybe not issues, but stumbling blocks or some pain points in the QRP?
Pain points, difficulties in the application itself,
or the renewal fee.
Yeah,
you know,
I
kind of
don't
like what we were
necessarily
talking.
know if there's any difficulties. One difficulty might be, you know, what we kind of talked about before, dealing with bureaucracy and timelines and things of that nature. QRP is another thing. You can apply by yourself. You don't need an attorney or a professional to help out. Some people feel that it's valuable. We certainly have a good relationship with the tourism board. We know what they're looking for. We can provide advice. That frustration is the largest pain, I guess, in any application with government. You need a tremendous amount of patience, and you know, you just kind of got to bite your tongue sometimes. And if you put up with that, then you're fine. If you can't, or if you care not to, there are professionals involved that will kind of take that stress away from the process.
Yeah. I know when I first moved here, you know, I really didn't. I was starting over in 08, 09, 010. I really didn't have the funds to hire Ryan or his team, so I did it myself, and it was pretty frustrating. You know, you forgot this piece of paper, and so I go home and get that piece of paper, call back, anything else, and they're like, no. So I go back and, oh, you forgot this piece of paper. So it is kind of nice to just honestly stroke a check to Ryan's firm and have them take care of it. I know for me, it would cost me more now, you know, because my time is more valuable than anything. So I prefer to hire a professional now and just have somebody do it. The renewal fee. So how is one known on the QRP? They get a stamp in their passport. Do they have a little card?
Yeah, there's a card that's issued every year. So it's a QRP identification card. And that's what you show the immigration official when you enter or exit the country. I think really that's the only time that you really need to show that card, when you're traveling abroad internationally. But you are issued a card.
Okay. So you said you don't have to be here for the QRP, but you do have to be here to set up a bank account. Or do you help them with that as well?
Yeah, we can assist with opening bank accounts. I can tell you that without some type of normalized legal immigration status here, and qualified retirement program would be one, or a work permit, permanent residency, you're not going to get a Belize dollar account opened. A lot of people, especially those that are interested in the qualified retirement program, ask, well, how do I do that? They're telling me to send $24,000 down and I don't have a bank. Like, how do I do that? Well, you don't worry about that. You only have to show the proof of that money coming in after the first 12 months that you've been in the program. As part of the application, you have to show the ability to send those funds. You have to show those, again, those sources of income. But you would not be able to open up a Belize dollar bank account until you can walk in a bank and show them your QRP card and let them know that you do have an immigration status here. And then our domestic banks will be open to opening an account for you.
Yeah, very good. That's good. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I learned today even, and I've been here, 13 years next week. It is pretty difficult to open a bank account. There's a lot of regulations as far as, money laundering, making sure we're not harboring terrorists or things like that. So that's why it's pretty, and I think they're scared of kind of Big Brother, in my opinion, of the US, trying to, induce fines and things if they do something wrong. So in my opinion, they kind of take it a little far, because I can't send myself money without telling them where it's coming from. Whereas in the States, I can send money all around the country without anything. So it is a process to open up an account here. And like Ryan said, you can talk to them. They can help you. We have a sheet from the banks we use on what's required. So you do need like a letter from your attorney or a professional of some sort, a letter from your bank, things like that, that you have an account in good standing. So that's good. Does the QRP program have any benefits if you own real estate that is rented out, either long-term for tourists, monthly, weekly, etc.? So that's we kind of touched on that. So you're really not allowed to then, if you're under the QRP, rent anything out.
Yeah, you're prohibited from investing in this country, so you can't run any businesses like that. That one would require a hotel license. You would not be able to do that. No.
Even if you hire everything, 100% of it out, they won't let you.
If your name's on any of the ownership documents, they're not going to allow you to do so. Or if they find out, I should say, they're going to ask you to recuse yourself from the qualified retirement program. So, things slip through the cracks, but the law says that no, you are prohibited from working or investing, deriving any revenue, any return for the provision of labor, sale of goods, what have you, service. That's a no-no under the qualified retirement program.
Wow, man, that's a new one for me. I thought you could at least own the property. I knew you couldn't.
Well, you can own the property, but as long as that property is not being rented, you could own.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, it's not but if the mere fact that you put it into some type of revenue generating pool, you're going against the law if you're a QRP.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so if you have a duplex and you live in one and rent the other one out on the QRP, basically you're going against what the law is stated. That's something definitely has been that's a great point, and that's something you definitely want to advise. We need to advise our clients on. Definitely, that's pretty big. So I guess that would be the negative part. So if you're wanting to invest,
I mean, if you're interested in investing, yeah, you take the other route. You come in on a work permit or something else. Again, the qualified retirement program, that's a massive benefit, tax-free importation. Right. So that's for somebody that needs to bring everything and relax. You're retired, not get actively involved in business. If you want to get into business, we have plenty of programs for that. But one of the programs that is not for you, it would be the qualified retirement program.
Right. I knew somebody was going to ask that, because I was thinking Drew's question right away. So what if I have a property in an LLC?
There's ways to structure things. I'll put it like that. We do work in this arena, and if you have any interesting things you'd like to try to do, or you have deeper questions, please reach out to me, Drew. I'd love to help.
Yeah. Let's take something like that offline, and we can definitely. It's not that it's illegal. It's just there's a lot of structures and there's a lot of strategies we can do, to help clients. So definitely, and that's what you need a team for, right? So
Sure.
you need a good real estate agent, you need a good lawyer. You want a tax professional, especially if you're, US and you're going to be making some money. You want a tax professional in the US to help structure it, to where it's right. And the best thing to do, what I found, that my mentors told me, is just get everybody on a call like this. It might cost you a few $100, but it's going to save you money from going back and forth and taking a lot of time. So that's what we like to do. We get all of our team on a call and we kind of structure it. The lawyer asks the accountant questions, the accountant asks the lawyer questions, and just get all that done and out in the open. So then we can get to work for you and structure something. So very good. So, I mean, I guess that's good. I don't want to take you too much time away from your family, and I appreciate you joining us again
No
today.
problem.
And
It's my pleasure.
I appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions, any, whatever, just reach out to Ryan at lawbelize.bz or lawbelize.bz is the website address. And reach out to them for anything you want. And thanks again, Ryan, for joining. Thank your family for letting me have you for an hour, and we'll talk to you later this week.
Sounds good. I appreciate the invitation and thanks for having me, David. Take care, and thank you to your listeners as well.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining, and stay tuned for March 2nd for the next All Access Belize. And if you're interested in coming to Belize and looking at property, please reach out to us. We'll help educate you and then help show you the country, if you will. We don't need to sell you property because the country sells itself. What we need to do is educate you on what it takes to live here, invest here, and things like that. So thanks everybody for joining, and you all have a good night.